welcome back to the program. Lou and Michelle here, and we are hanging out with our party scoopers, Michelle.
That's right. We have Craig Robinson and Jeff Link joining us here this morning. Welcome, welcome.
We're glad to be here.
Must be Tuesday.
Yeah, it has to be Tuesday. So big news. What's going on politically? We need to be in the loop about it.
Well, there's a few things going on. We're a week away from the next debate. Next week on Wednesday, Thursday, we'll have 20 Democrats taking the stage on 2 different nights, 10 each night.
The same split where we have 10 and 10, right?
Yes, 10 and 10. And Biden and Harris will be on the same stage again, so that should be an interesting rematch.
Now, for those that aren't following along, every step of the way, how did they get selected as to who's going to be on which night?
It was random.
Random. Okay.
Yeah. So I think they drew lots out of a hat, and that's how you got determined.
Okay. I want to ask you, we've had Marianne Williamson on the program a couple of times when she was talk about just, because she's a different candidate in that whole arena.
She brings a totally different perspective. She's not political. She's not she has run for office one time, but she's never served in office. She's an author. And her claim to fame is she was the first author selected by the Oprah Book Club. And she's had 6 New York Times bestsellers, kind of in spirituality and healing and health and these kinds of things. And her whole approach is we've got to be the opposite of Trump. So we've got to show love and togetherness and unity. And she thinks that's going to be the antidote. She hasn't really taken off yet, but
picked up a little bit of momentum, it seems like, or a little bit of traction.
Look, she has an avid group of followers who are not hardcore politicos, but they like her books and they like what she said. And she's an advisor to Oprah Winfrey, and smart people generally don't seek advice from people that don't have something going on.
Right.
So
I think in the debate it's going to be interesting when the lineups were announced. A lot of people thought this is bad for Biden to have to go up against Harris again. I actually think it creates an opportunity for him to get redemption here, where he needs to show that he's a legitimate front runner at the top of his game. I just felt like Biden didn't seem ready for that first debate, and I'm really eager to see how he presents this time around. So I think having the opportunity to go up against Harris again is something I actually want to watch in this upcoming debate.
Do you think the coaching got ramped up a little bit before this debate?
Well, you can overcoach in debate, and I think that's one of the problems. I just thought that everything I expected to see out of Joe Biden, I didn't see in the first debate. And so I wonder if there's probably a different approach to this one. And so I'm curious to see. I think he has a lot on the line there in terms of having to have a good performance this time around.
So what kind of notes are Republicans taking for these debates?
Well, I think number one, Republicans are looking for, there was an article out today where, NBC foresees candidates to raise their hands on a number of issues. And Republicans can just take screenshots and show it look, they all agree on all of these, big policies that they're opposed to. So, their research books and oppo books are filling up with all their positions. None of this should be surprising to them, but I do think that it is a benefit, and we've seen this. Democrats have had this benefit before, where you're in a huge field of trying to win out of a huge field, and it forces these candidates to kind of maybe go further to the left than maybe they should be in a general election. So Republicans are taking notes and watching intently.
No, obviously, there's not going to be a Republican, presidential contender beside the president.
No. There's one coming to the state fair that'll speak at the Register soapbox. It's Bill Weld, the former governor of Massachusetts, and so he's an interesting figure. I don't think he'll have much of a foothold in the state of Iowa or really anywhere. But it does create a little interesting dynamic with the president. And we'll see if do they debate? Probably not.
There's no way.
There's no way. Would Trump take his time to do that or not?
No. He would not give equal billing to someone like former Governor
Sure.
Weld. He's going to ignore him and say he's a
Who would he give
gadfly.
equal billing to if somebody
Nobody.
stepped up?
Nobody.
Th-
Nobody.
The only way it happens is if someone actually challenges them and the polling numbers suggest that it is an actual contest, and then the news media would force it. The public would force it.
Would these debates force Trump to have some kind of rebuttal to what the debates were, or would he just let the debates sit the way they are?
I guess I don't necessarily follow. I think that
Would he be able to speak and address some of the questions that were brought up in the debate and say?
Well,
this
he does on Twitter during the debates.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of his
he's an active
counterbalance.
participant now, and maybe he shouldn't be, but
I mean, here's the real challenge that could come to Trump. If some Republican decided, I am fed up with what's happening with the deficit over the last 3 years. When Trump came into office, we had an $18 trillion debt. Today, it's $21 trillion. He's added $1 trillion a year each year of his presidency. At the same time, we have a raging economy that he likes to brag about. Well, we shouldn't have a great economy and a $1 trillion deficit at the same time. If some Republican who actually cared about fiscal responsibility stood up and said, "This is outrageous what's going on," I think it would be a real problem.
And I actually think the threat for Republicans and Trump is there, does someone get fed up? Do things change and it spurs, a third party run by a more fiscally conservative individual? That would be more problematic in the general election. I don't think there's any scenario in my head that a challenger within the Republican structure could challenge and be successful.
Is there anybody circling that come to mind to you or no?
Well, no, I mean, there's always Larry Hogan from Maryland, and there's other individuals that are, Ben Sass, Nebraska. Some of these people are
Gary
vocal.
Johnson might go again.
Yeah, Gary. But I mean, the thing is I think Hogan is the most interesting person to kind of have floated the idea, and I think it's because he's a populist. He's been successful in a blue state, but yet I think appeals to these moderate Republicans who are a little frustrated with the president and his antics.
Okay.
A little closer to home, we do have an issue we should probably touch on just for a second. Governor Reynolds is in a little hot water over firing her Department of or Medicaid manager, this Jerry Foxhoven, and of course there was the kerfluffle over his love of Tupac Shakur.
Fridays.
Tupac Fridays, and all these emails. Now they've said that's not the reason why they got rid of him, except now they won't say why. And Foxhoven seems to be now being prodded along to talk about what's been going on. He's claiming that the governor's office asked him to do something that wasn't correct or was illegal. It'll be interesting to see. This could be a death of 1,000 cuts kind of issue for Governor Reynolds.
Yeah, because we talked about that in the news this morning about all the questions that are surrounding this.
Well, it happens with almost every time someone is let go. There's lots of questions, and there's a question of how much are we entitled as the public to really know about all the details of why someone is let go. So we've seen that with whether it's Dave Jamieson, whether it's all these individuals, and so.
All right, so everybody will be tuning in, trying to find out what's
Be
happening.
interesting to watch.
All righty, it is 21 minutes past 8 o'clock. Don't go too far. We will be right back.